A very warm welcome to all the esteemed experts on the virtual platform and all the audience who have joined us through Facebook and YouTube. I am Professor Renu Malavia, Secretary, IWAFA, and Professor at the Department of Education, Lady Irwin College, University of Delhi. Let us start this webinar with our traditional auspicious lamp lighting ceremony as a tribute to divinity, the lamp of knowledge and wisdom.
गजाननं भूतगणादिसेवितं कवित्तजम्बो बलसारभक्षितम् उमासुतं शोकविनाशकारणम् नमामि विघ्नेश्वर पादपङ्कजम् नमामि विघ्नेश्वर पादपङ्कजम्
It is indeed my proud privilege to request Asha Chandra, our President of IWAFA, All India Women's Education Fund Association, for the welcome address and to tell us more about IWAFA. Before I hand over the virtual mic to Asha Chandra, I take this opportunity to say a few words about her. Asha Chandra, an advertising professional, her expertise span multimedia platforms. Having worked with the world's leading advertising agencies, J. Walter Thompson and Ogilvy and Mather, and a short filmmaker and a writer, she brings a target oriented, all encompassing approach to the social sector. The president of the 92-year-old All India Women's Education Fund Association, IWAFA, Ms. Chandra, has been on the governing body as the chairperson of Lady Irwin College. Lady Irwin College was founded by IWAFA in 1932. Ms. Asha Chandra.
Thank you, Professor Malavia. And I join you in extending a very warm welcome to all our participants and the eminent panel who have joined us today for the National Webinar Series, Specific Learning Disabilities, SLD. The second webinar in the series, titled Dyscalculia and Dyspraxia, Why Can't They Understand Me? Before we commence our discussions for today, I would like to share a few words about our organization. The All India Women's Education Fund Association, IWAFA, was established in 1929 for the advancement of women and girls through education. Accordingly, in 1932, as Professor Malviya mentioned, the organization founded the Lady Irwin College, Asia's first home science college, to inculcate a scientific temper in women's education, as this was recognized as the catalyst for change. This year, the organization marks 93 years. We will be starting the 93rd year from June of this year. So the organization marks 93 years in the service of women and communities, 26 years of engagement with the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women and other international fora, 6 years of commitment towards accelerating growth in the last decade of the 2030 Agenda for Development. So, what did the organization do in the last 9 decades? Just a small recap. During these 9 decades, organizational programs have kept pace with the changing needs of a developing nation. Following the years of India's independence, through the college, the organization sought to guide and implement national policy designs on women's health, nutrition, and sanitation. And the flagship community extension programs were set up in the villages around Delhi. Soon after, the college was affiliated to the University of Delhi, offering graduate and postgraduate courses with the doctorates in various specializations. From the 1990s, the organization shifted focus to gender issues and urgent social action required for the mainstreaming of women in the development process. Accordingly, in 1999, the organization was conferred with a special consultative status with the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations, the ECOSOC. In 2003, the organization accepted the role of the regional coordinator of the Informal Regional Network of Organizations. It's the UN NGO IRENE. And in 2017, the observer status was granted to the organization by the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC. These recognitions have provided the organization with an opportunity to integrate national and international concerns through consultation, cooperation, and coalition in the larger international arena of the United Nations. The impact of COVID 19, combined with the accelerated rate of climate change adversities, have forced the world into a stop and reset mode. The experiences gained from grassroots projects have guided this organization, pandemic response and recovery programs, towards ensuring gender equality while safeguarding the Sustainable Development Goals. This national webinar series is in line with our work for the Nina Sibbal Award, which was instituted in 2003 to recognize organizations with disabilities. The award acknowledges their contribution in the areas of disabilities with a grant of rupees 8 lakhs, along with a citation and trophy. Held annually for the last 20 years, we are hoping that the award presentation, as was the norm before COVID, will take place at the India Habitat Center on the 2nd of August from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. The form for application will soon be shared on our website, social media, and through mails. And we look forward to your applying or disseminating this information further. It is now my proud privilege to welcome our eminent panelists for today, Professor Rama Subaya and Dr. Anupama Sethi. Thank you.
Thank you, Asha Chandra. One feels so proud to be associated with All India Women's Education Fund, IWAFA, and its remarkable legacy and outstanding current position. The national webinar series on specific learning disability, dyslexia, being organized by IWAFA, All India Women's Education Fund Association, has the most eminent experts from the field pan India and also abroad. According to the Rights of Persons with Disability Act 2016, Specific Learning Disability, SLD, which is often spoken as synonymous to dyslexia by the general public, is actually an umbrella term for a number of neurodevelopmental diversities, or is it disability, which includes dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, apraxia, developmental aphasia. But today we focus on dyscalculia and dyspraxia. The children with specific learning disabilities, which includes dyscalculia and dyspraxia, have average or above average intelligence. Yet, majority of them tend to not do well in the school system and often at higher education level. There is strong evidence that these children, under the umbrella of the term specific learning disabilities, are unable to perform well in the education system because they are often not understood or are misunderstood. I've always wondered why mathematics is so important and why do they have to teach us to learn it in the schools. But speaking with experts, I came to know that mathematics helps in becoming us into better decision makers, analytical thinkers, and problem solving. The experts tell us that learning fractions at school actually helps us in gaining insight into concept of time and time management, and it develops in us the skill of pattern seeking, and that transfers into our ability to network and form relationships. I also did not realize that mathematics is a universal language and a powerful tool and an essential life skill. Oh, I never realized that mathematics is going to help me increase my emotion quotient, EQ, and my spiritual quotient. But as of now, let us come back and let us go through the journey of gaining a deeper insight into dyscalculia and dyspraxia. So linked, dyscalculia so linked with mathematics. It is my proud privilege to introduce Dr. Anupa Sethi, who is the founder of Empower Kids, a multidisciplinary learning initiative for children to achieve, enhance, empower, and optimize their learning. Anupama has a doctorate in learning disabilities from the University of Delhi. She has extensive experience as an SOI, System Cognitive Skills Trainer, and Orton Gillingham reading therapist, licensed coach for the listening program from Advanced Brain Technologies. Anupam also has a certificate in Brain Gym 101 program for mind and body coordination. She is a clinical learning therapist with developmental learning solutions and strategies for learning. She has experience of over 20 years and has experimented with research based new developments in the area of education and the science of teaching. She bases her philosophy of education on the paradigm in education where all means all, where we nourish and believe that all persons have values and that all children can learn. Welcome, Dr. Sethi. We also have another very prominent, eminent expert with us, Professor Rama Subbiah. Professor Rama Subbiah is the former professor of special education and dean of instructions, RIE, NCERT, Mysore, former principal of Northeast Regional Institute of Education, NCERT, Shillong, British Council Fellow. She has a MAd, MS, and a PhD. Her research work has been predominantly in the area of diagnosis and remediation of dyslexia, empirical study in Canada and Indian language, complex learning disorders, a multidisciplinary perspective, arithmetic difficulties among children with dyscalculia, and social disadvantaged children, children learning difficulties and disabilities in mathematics, the Indian scenario. Her independent, collaborative, and constructive projects are funded by agencies such as ERIC, NCERT, All India Institute of Speech and Hearing, Center for International Rehabilitation Research Information and Exchange, Buffalo, New York, USA, and many others. Her national and international research has been published in journals across span the world, not only India. She's a member of well-reputed professional bodies such as Indian Association of Clinical Psychology, Dyslexia Association, Indian Psychiatric Society, and just a few of them. I am in such a wonderful welcome, Professor Rama Subhaya. It's such a wonderful position that I have today as the moderator. I can continue to ask as many questions as I like, all related to dyscalculia. So, here are the experts and me lucky. So, may I put the same question to Professor Rama Surya? There are all these terms, dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, you name them all. What exactly is this concept of the term dyscalculia? Over to Rama, ma'am. You are muted. Rama, ma'am, you will have to.
Okay. So, I first of all I thank the association for giving such an opportunity and also organizing such a wonderful program. So, it is my privilege to be a part of this webinar. So that when we talk about that is dyscalculia, there are so many ideas about that. It is something that is a kind of the concept is still evolving and evolving because mathematics itself is a difficult subject. So when we talk about that is dyscalculia, it is not enough if we understand the problems of the children with the dyscalculics. We have to understand mathematics also, the psychology of mathematics, neurology, and so on and so forth. So I would like to share some slides to just is it visible?
While Dr. Subhaya is sharing a slide, I don't know how many of you have this. Many of us had this fear of maths in school. That's my next question to her after
Yeah,
she finishes with this one. So we are
yeah,
waiting for you to share your slide. And
yeah.
in the meantime, are we there?
Yeah,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
can you see my slide? Can you see?
No, no, we are not
No,
able to see the
You
slide.
can't see that. Okay. That actually there should be a sharing option here. So I don't know about this.
If you go down
Okay.
after where there is mute and stop cam and setting, and the fourth one
Ah,
is share.
okay. Setting.
next
Uh,
to
Oh,
settings,
share,
ma'am.
share. Yeah, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I can
hmm.
see.
There
Okay.
is a cross there on a
Yeah, yeah.
television.
Okay, okay. That. Sorry, one
And
minute.
it
Yeah.
may need
So
the access to your account, Google account or something, because we are working on this platform for the first time.
yeah, yeah, that is why that what about now?
No.
No, okay. So that I will just that discuss about it if there is any problem. So that as I told that we have first of all that we have to understand what is that is mathematics, and then only that it is possible to do. Of course, that will be discussed by that is Dr. Anupama. Here that they say when we talk about that dyscalculia, they consider it is a kind of learning disability, is a type of learning disability. It is coming under the neurodevelopmental disorder or even neurodiversity, and that many definitions are there. All of them are that ultimately trying to point out that they are having some kind of challenges in the basic that is concepts, operations, and also problem solving. So here that we can say the children with the dyscalculia are having the problem even in counting, the most basic thing any children can learn, and they have problems in the number concepts, which I think I'm going to discuss in detail various things, and also the fundamental operations. Many children what they can easily acquire, that these children are facing, and about 6% of the children are facing dyscalculia. That it is not only proved that in other countries, even in our studies also found out that about 6% of the children are having this kind of problem. And also it is, when we talk about that mathematics, the thing is it is not a unitary subject, that it is so diverse and so complex. Because of this one, we can find a lot of heterogeneity among children with dyscalculia also. So we cannot say that all the children are having same kind of problem, or we cannot reduce into the one or two difficulties. So that is one thing that we have to understand. Like any other disability or even learning disabilities, you can find more heterogeneity among the dyscalculics. That is first thing that we have to understand. And the various studies have pointed out that they are having difficulties even in many neuropsychological processes, and also the development of cognition. Even in my own work, I found out the Piagetian concept of the conservation or the seriation, metric relations. If we take, these children are lying behind. And also that when we go to the at risk, that we can understand that there are certain neurological factors which are also affecting that dyscalculia. So, and also some people are trying to find out that whether there is anything like primary and secondary developmental dyscalculia. Whenever we talk about dyscalculia, it is applicable to both arithmetic as well as mathematics, and that is one thing. And also here we are talking about developmental dyslexia, because that even dyslexia can happen due to some brain injury, that it will be later age, that we call acalculia. So the dyslexia means dyscalculia, like dyslexia, limited ability in calculation here. So that is the lexical coding. Another thing is that is the co-occurrence of other types of learning disabilities as well as ADHD. So that not only that, that we can say that there is various comorbidities. In fact, we can see that if we try to understand more and more in depth, dyscalculia is sharing that problems in not only one group of children whom we think, there are problems in variety of syndromes. So that means that there is a complexity, and it is possible to confuse the dyscalculia with any other kind of disabilities. So, but we are all very clear about specific learning disabilities. It was discussed in detail in the previous webinar, and also today morning also in the introduction, Professor Malavia has given that concept of learning disability. So you can understand this is not due to any other kind of problems, intellectual disability or lack of provision for learning, etc., etc., which you are familiar. So that means it is possible to find out the children who are free from other problems, but they are facing problem in dyscalculia. So this is about that dyscalculia. As I'm telling, as we move more and more, that we can understand still better. And coming to that is mathematics, that anxiety, so that it is possible for us to compare both of them later. That these are the children that they are having ability to learn that mathematics, but they believe that they have difficulty. And this that is developed because of the way that is introduced, mathematics is introduced in the classroom or in the society. We give more importance to mathematics than any other subject. Oh, that means those who learn mathematics, they are smart. So due to some kind of failure at any stage or some kind of over expectation, another thing, some of the children may develop some kind of anxiety. So it paralyzes that their thinking, so that there is impairment. But we have to say what is happening when we talk about that the short-term memory and working memory. Whenever that they have to encounter with a mathematical task, their mind is actually preoccupied by the anxiety. Anxiety is taking so much of the space. There is no that much space for the working memory to help the individual to recall the important facts and try to apply that in a particular situation. So these
Wow.
children can be actually counseled, and that we can help them to overcome. Whereas in case of dyscalculia, it is something a lifelong problem. I think
Okay.
that I'm going to stop and we will take up
Oh, yeah.
it. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
fear of maths is not something that cannot be done away with. Oh, thank
Yeah.
God, wish I knew this in school. And there was Rama ma'am there to help me out of that. But anyway, let's go on to it's too late now, isn't it? So, now coming to Dr. Anupam Sethi. You know, Anupam, I mean, I am so confused. These terms, arithmetic, mathematics, are these interchangeable terms? Are they the same?
Yeah, actually, yeah, very nicely, Rama ma'am had put that part that it's a heterogeneous. I may have to go take a little step back on that. I will come back to this part of arithmetic and mathematic confusion. Yeah, and as we rightly are understanding the part that specific learning disabilities in mathematics or dyscalculia is a heterogeneous term, and in my opinion, it's a spectrum. No two children with learning disabilities in math will have the same or identical characteristics. And now, coming to the question of arithmetic and math, no, they are not the interchangeable
Your
terms.
voice is not reaching us.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, so arithmetic and mathematics are not interchangeable, but in India, we have used this term synonymously with each other. Arithmetic is a part of math. The mathematics is the bigger, wider subject as such, and arithmetic
Again, your
pertains.
voice is going, not reaching us.
Hello, I
Yes, you're back with us.
Okay, I will raise my volume from my laptop. Okay, so arithmetic is actually a part of mathematics. Arithmetic relates to the number system, just the numbers and the basic operations, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Whereas the mathematics is a wider area which deals with the problem solving aspect, trigonometry, geometry, algebra, and the other details of the abstract level of math. But arithmetic is the smaller component of only the operations, and sometimes we will observe that children with learning difficulties in mathematics or math may only struggle with operations, but some children will have challenges with the math. That means uh, the children may be sound or good at operations, but may have challenges in critical thinking, problem solving, algebra, and there will be the whole gamut of the complexities and the relationships with other areas of learning disabilities like reading, writing, and spelling. So there is an overlap with the mathematics. Some people may have only challenges in arithmetic, but on a wider level, some children may have challenges with the math part.
Yeah, wow, that's explained it so well. There are two different things subsumed into each other.
Yeah.
Maths is larger and arithmetic is into that. Without
Mhm.
arithmetic, you can't do maths. Wow, I think I've understood it now. So now there's another question, Anupama.
Mhm.
So as a teacher, a parent, a principal, what symptoms in the child should I be looking at and be at alert?
Okay.
And do these symptoms manifest themselves in regular classrooms also, in inclusive classrooms as well?
Yes. Let me try if I can share my slides with you and start. Okay. Yeah. Can we all see my screen with the slides?
It's coming. It's just joining us. The
Okay.
circles are
Yeah.
going on round and round, and it should reach us in some time. So probably while it's coming, if you want
Okay.
to,
Yeah, I will
yes,
start. Yeah.
yes, it's come.
Okay.
Yes, this
So
can.
okay. Yeah. So we can say that the as you rightly asked, that the children with learning disabilities will show these characteristics as early as elementary schools. We are talking about the inclusive classrooms in elementary, but I can go and have a longer 2 or 3 days discussion, never ending discussion, starting from the preschool stages of learning of math. But I'll start here because I think we are talking about inclusive classroom environment. We're starting from the elementary to high schools. So the children may have difficulties in recognizing the numbers, recognizing patterns and placing things in order, learning to trouble in learning to count, and they don't seem to understand meaning of counting. For example, when you ask the child to pick up 5 blocks, they may hold up a larger number of blocks and not pick up 4 or 5 number of blocks as you're asking them to pick up. Trouble understanding the number symbols and connection between the number symbol 7 or 5 and the number of objects it represents, 7 circles or 7 squares or 7 apples or 5 pencils, whatever you are asking them. And they may have a challenge or struggle in connecting a number to an object, or the number symbol to the numbers, the quantity of numbers. Then, for example, like they are how many rods. So if the children have to write 21, they may write the number reversal. This is one example how they may show, and some of the examples are for addition. For example, 18 plus 22, 8 plus 2, 10, and 1. So they don't know how to regroup the numbers in addition and subtraction. Carry over and borrowing challenges will be there. Poor understanding of the signs and symbols of operation. Multiplication can be visible as addition sign, and the reasons could be any. The visual processing issues can be responsible for these kind of issues, and they may be using the fingers to count for a very long time when the things should become fluent in mental math, and the fluency should be coming for the mental math aspects. That doesn't come for a very long time. They may have challenges with the place values. So I'm just giving some examples. For example, 36, 30 plus 6, instead of the place value challenges, the child has written 60 plus 3, and the 60 is also reversed. 40, 40 plus 1, something different. 26, 4 plus 20. How do we? So, all sorts of different combinations of numbers coming up. And on the right side, you can see 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, writing the numbers in a sequence, how the child has written 16. So the 6 is reversed, and instead of 16, it's 61 technically, or 20. 16, 1 and 6 is reversed, 2, 0 is reversed. Instead of 20, the 0 is before the number 2. So all these type of errors we will see in the elementary here again. Subtraction. 4 minus for 54 say subtract किया है 35 को. So what is the child written? 5 में से 4 subtract किया है and 5 में से 3 subtract किया है. So bigger number, they will reverse. They don't know if we have to subtract, borrow the number from the tens place to the ones place. So these sorts of problems we will see in the classroom situations, and a difficulty in understanding and learning the basic operations, trouble in keeping the scores in the sports and games and activity and gym activities, and they may have hard time figuring out the total cost of things, the money concept. If you give them a 100 rupee note and the children have to go to a store and buy a packet of chips and a box of juice and a pack of pencils, they will have a challenge in adding the total amount of money to be paid and how much change they have to get back. So there will be issues there. And now if I go to the middle school level, they may have challenges in understanding and remembering the formulas, avoidance of games that require the number systems and the math, misinterpretation to use the measurement and the units of volume, area, perimeter, and all those things, struggle with learning and recalling the multiplication and division math facts, avoidance of situation that require understanding the numbers, and trouble making comparisons, estimations. And if I go to the high school level, they may have again continued challenges with the vocabulary of math. They have challenges where they can't understand the word problems, how what operations have to be used in the problems, and struggle learning and understanding the reasoning methods and the multi-step calculations and the procedures. And for example, if they have to take the recipe measurements, how much is the what are the measurements of the ingredients in this recipe, and maybe if they have to change the recipe from 5 people to 10 people, if they have to double the quantities, they cannot do that. And I would like to add a couple of one more thing very importantly. As we said, we all have seen the anxiety and the fear of numbers. The biggest challenge there we find, in my own experience as a student and as a special educator with children with learning disabilities, that somewhere in our education system we don't relate the math to the real life situations. Math is one subject as taught in the school. We don't link it up as a real life saving, as Renu ma'am initially told, that discuss that it is a life skill for us, math. If we study it as a subject in school, it will be always a difficult system. As when I was studying in elementary school, i still have I still have a fear of numbers. My father was a genius in math. He was to ask me, Anupma, ask me n number of times, but if I ask you to solve the problem, you should be in a position to do. And that created such a fear of numbers and math in my mind. I never used to tell how my exam went. And still date, even my kids are grown up, college graduate, and working also. I still feel that I have a mental block for the bigger numbers. So I will wrap it up here. I know we have a lot of other stuff to catch up on.
Yeah. So
Uh,
let's go on to the next question. I will try and help Rama ma'am share the PPT. But if I do not manage that, will you be able to just tell us? You know, you speak so well. A professor always is so articulate. We cannot hear you. You are on mute. Rama,
Yeah,
you are
yeah,
on
please.
mute.
Yeah, please, please.
Unmute
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah, I have done.
Okay, so the question to you is, how early can we identify children with dyscalculia? Also, would like to understand the difference between the term at risk and the red flags.
Okay.
So,
See,
when do we,
uh,
uh,
okay.
so let's hear you. I mean, I know you're such, we have heard you. Forget about the PPTs. Let's do it. So, when do we identify? How do we identify?
Yes, yes. Okay. So, in fact, most of the time that we think that we have to wait for 8 years to identify whether a child is dyslexia, dyscalculia, etc. And even RPWD Act and other things also tell once in 8 years, one is 12, 18, like that. So, that is it that they develop that? No, earlier idea is that we have to give chance for any maturational lag. Some children mature that little bit later. That's why even in many of our studies that we were taking children that who are in third standard and above, because that we have to give them some opportunity to learn also. But we are thinking by that time that they may develop some kind of problem and they may fail, and there may be some kind of lag between other children and these children, that may lead to anxiety and so on and so forth. So, because of these things, it is better to understand that how early we can identify. And many of the studies conducted even in Japan and other countries, they say even infants also that exhibit certain mathematical understanding, the quantity. For example, if you give two fruits which the child like, he may go for a bigger fruit, or that anything that which has got more number, he may be getting attracted. That may be one of the reason many children want to wear a bigger shoes of their
We've lost
parents.
your
So,
voice.
yeah. So
Yeah,
all these
go back.
things
Hmm.
that say that we are that in a position to understand that they are able to do, but environmental factors may affect them, especially in socially disadvantaged and another thing. And those who are having some opportunity, they can always learn better.
Okay, so
So
what I get from this is that
yeah,
because some of us matured slightly late, but
yeah,
within the normal developmental area, and
yeah,
therefore we are not able to pick up something so abstract as arithmetic and maths, and therefore we develop this fear. Oh, so that means our teachers need to be, maths teachers need to know a lot of psychology. Okay,
yeah,
that's what
yeah.
it comes to. So
Okay.
coming here is the next
Ah,
point is, what are
yeah.
these alerts, at risk, and red flags?
Yeah, yeah. So that's what I was trying to share that. But you told that you will help me.
Uh,
Then it will be.
doesn't matter. You have the PPT with you right there.
Yeah, yeah, I
And
have that one.
tell
But
us.
I thought some of the
Huh.
diagrams I have to show to the
Okay, let
that
me.
is the audience.
Okay, you start
So if
speaking,
possible, you
and I
try.
will try
By
and
that time, I will tell alerts.
yes,
Okay.
yes,
So
I'll
what
try and do
is,
that for you.
yeah,
Hmm.
what is at that from 12 onwards, that slide 12 onwards you can show them. By that time we'll tell, when you asked two things, that is at risk and also that is the red flags, or that is red flags are nothing but the alerts or the warning signs. And it is most of the time that we can experience the children even in the preschool, that is at the age of 4, they experience a difficulty in actually memorizing certain numbers or the address, and even that is the days of a the week, or that is the months in a year, like that, anything that is the presented sequentially, that they may have difficulty, or even sorting out the things based on color, shape, size may be difficult for them. And that means that we can notice whatever that we are expecting as a pre-math
Is the
skill.
screen sharing? No, it
Yeah,
isn't.
some of the children have difficulty in pre-math skill that we can observe. And similarly, even that in the school also, when certain activities which are related to basic things, like even learning the numbers 1 to 5, in fact that when we say counting, it has got certain several principles, that the child has to recall the numbers in a particular order. If it is 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if it is 3, 1, 2, 3, that the order is same, that they have to understand. There should be one to one correspondence. One item, if it is concrete or anything, that can be counted only once. And it is possible to that identify the units in a larger group, unit of 2, unit of 3, like sets, so that there are several principles are there. So that it is not very simple thing that what we understand. Even the counting is not mechanical. The child has to apply certain logic, and then he has to remember certain facts, that we can notice some of these children are having problem at that time. Okay, so these are some of the red flags which will give an idea. That means when we introduce the number concepts, especially the counting, numericity, they are having problem. And when they join the school, also that they show that is difficulty. And coming to the risk factors, so here that when we talk about that, in fact I wanted to show certain things. Anyway, I will explain. So that actually there is a problem in the brain development. There will be certain differences, especially in the frontal parietal lobe, in the mid part, that they found out certain problem. There's some thickness, and also certain areas. In fact, mathematics is not located in only one hemisphere, left hemisphere, whereas earlier people were thinking, because it involves visual, it involves that is the verbal, and many other things. So it is spread. In fact, the entire brain is required for this. So in the activation, that there is some problem. And next thing is that is a genetic factor. When we come to the genetic factor, we can say dyscalculia runs in the family. So sometimes the parents or one of the sibling is having this one. Not only that, there are certain genetic disorders So that those who are having the genetic disorders Turner syndrome, or we can say Williams that is syndrome, and many other kinds of thing also, they have both medical problems as well as that is this psychological problem which are associated with mathematics learning. So many of the children with this kind of even fetal alcohol syndrome, this is one thing that which is preventable, I think, because a woman during pregnancy takes alcohol, that will affect the brain. In fact, I wanted to show you a picture also. So that means in all these kind of genetic disorders, it is not only a medical condition, many of them have learning disabilities, including that is mathematics, and also that they are having various personality problems, they are having ADHD. So, if we can identify these children, that is medically or otherwise, we can also assess them, and we can predict they may later develop some kind of problem. In addition to that, even low level intelligence, it's not the intellectual disability, even slow learners also, borderline, also experience dyscalculia. And also that is in as I told, that is if they're having mathematics anxiety, in the beginning it may be shown as mathematics anxiety, but that will prevent their putting effort, and during the crucial time, that some of the parts of the brain which is required for mathematics learning may be affected. Even that some kind of intervention, as I told already, may help them, but some of them, it may be like that there may be a correlation between dyscalculia and mathematics anxiety, because when the child experience difficulty, or it may do so, like that environmental factors are also there, neurological factors, and if we can identify them early, because medical that problems can be identified, because that there are a lot of variations in the physical features also. So like Down syndrome, and many of them Turner syndrome, that seventh chromosome is affected. So like that, it is possible to identify that them that is by the medical professionals, and then psychological, and we can assess that even mathematics pre-math skill, etc., and we can predict they have problem, and early identification is possible. And if we can identify the
So there was also the next question to you,
yeah,
and or maybe may I just go to Anupama?
yeah,
What strategies, and then I'll come back to you, Rama.
yeah, yeah.
Anupama, what strategies can be used in regular classrooms to support children with the dyscalculia? And
Yeah.
is it
Mhm.
going to be different at different stages of the school system?
Yes, but I will start by saying my slides. Where are my slides now? Okay, I'm just trying to see. I don't know if my slides are coming or not coming. Okay, yeah, my slides are okay. I will go back one slide here. Yeah, so the strategies for interventions in the regular classroom, I will begin by saying that for the mild level of challenges, we can address these issues depending on the type of resources our teachers have in the regular mainstream classroom environments. And if there are some challenges, more moderate to severe, then the child may need support in different models like a resource room in the school setup or after school support. But the strategies what I'm going to share with are helpful for all the children in the regular school environment, irrespective of having challenges in math. But I understand there will be a big onus on the teachers how they can incorporate these strategies in the classroom environment. My basic understanding and of a biggest uh, research based model and the approach which has been used extensively in all over the world is concrete representational and abstract model, which is to a large extent based on Piaget's theory of development, and a lot of research has gone into it. And CRA, usually call it in a short form, concrete representational and abstract level. based on this model, and concrete actually again relates to the stages using concrete objects to model the problem. The teacher has to model that problem or anything in the math, and then from that concrete, we transfer this concrete information to the representational form on the worksheets, and then to the number systems, the symbolic stage. The concrete stage is the doing stage, representational is the seeing stage. When we see those objects in the pictorial representations, and abstract is the symbolic representation of these concrete doing and seeing objects. So a CRA may be implemented at all the grade levels individually or in small groups or in the entire class. And the teacher has to provide multiple opportunities for practice and demonstration to help students achieve the mastery of mathematical concepts. So, as Rama ma'am also mentioned that the importance of pre-math skills is very essential for the higher order mathematical concepts. And even before we can start off the concept of teaching numbers and counting, there are n number of pre-math or the math readiness skills required for the understanding of math. And some of these areas are classification skills, sorting, ordering, seriation, sequencing skills, one to one correspondence, spatial and temporal orientation, as well as basic understanding of solving the problems. And so these are some of the objects which we can use, concrete objects. And I also use these kind of objects in my own practice with the students, of arranging these objects in a proper some sort of a sequence by numbers, or by the colors or different patterns. And I don't know where my slides are there now. Okay. I can't see my slides now. Okay. Uh-huh. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
There it is. Your slide is right there.
Okay. So yeah, these type of objects can be used to for doing some pre-math activities, readiness, classification, the sorting, sequencing, patterning, just to understand the basic concepts of pre-math, one-to-one correspondence also. So I'm going to show you some sort of examples, real life examples, like sorting, color sorting activities and counting, as in this picture the kid is doing, putting on color the ice cream sticks or those
Your voice is not audible.
okay, can you hear me now
Come
please?
back. It's come
Okay.
back.
Okay, I think I have to be staying closer to my microphone. Very so, yeah, so some of these examples like shape sorting activities, this is the representational stage now, where we are talking on the pictorial representation on the paper now. Again, seriation, sequencing skills, going from shortest to the longest, and shortest to longest, longest to shortest. One-to-one correspondence means in one square piece only one object will be there, because sometimes the children have challenges that one apple can be same as one pencil, and at one chair only one child can sit. So in one like in 10 frames, we ask the children to like in this also, in this like in one 10 frame only one piece, one object will be there. So sometimes we have to, in the lower elementary grades, pre-kindergarten, kindergarten, or first grade also, we might have to do these activities with all the children, so that they are getting their concepts reinforced. And some children who are struggling will benefit, will learn. Some children who know it, their concepts will get focused, and more and more reinforcement is happening. And like seriation, darkest to lightest, lightest to darkest, in different stages of learning. And what will come next, sequencing, patterns, all these things. And these are really helping in the problem solving as well as the critical thinking skills also. Arranging these type of beads, or I use these concrete towers, and we can make different kind of patterns and sequences with these unicubes. Now if we, as we go on to the counting, counting greater than, less than, place value, number sequencing, ascending order, descending order. So, all this will come only if the children have the pre math concepts of bigger, smaller, larger, thicker, thinnest, darkest, lightest, tallest, shortest. Arranging these objects and playing some games in the classroom really helps. And then, as we are going from the what materials can we use? Concrete manipulatives like beads, tiles, Legos, number sticks, number rods, different shapes of different colors and sizes, straws, number dominoes, abacus, number lines, name it, and anything can be used from our immediate environment. And the concept of some of the good organizations in India are working really well, like Jodogyan. They have good math material and training also, like these abacus, putting these abacus, the beads on units, tens, 100,000, 10,000, lakhs, up to all these places. And the abacus is one such equipment and a small tool. The teacher has a bigger set for herself, and all, if the school can afford it, the students can have their individual abacus so that they are practicing with those beads to count. And this abacus can be used for place value, counting, addition, subtraction, multiplication, as well as division. Abacus is one of the best tools ever I have seen, so useful. Like, if the children have like these sand letters, writing the numbers, when we see that the children have reversal and not that kind of a challenge, so they can practice and get that sensorial experience of writing, feeling in the sand tray. And these, the middle, those number cards are from the Montessori environment, the sand letters, so they get the feel of the exact shapes of the numbers. And now sometimes the kids have the challenges with the number bonds. What are number bonds? Like if I break up number 10 into two parts, it could be a combination of 8 plus 2, 9 plus 1, 3 plus 7, 6 plus 4, 5 plus 5, and whatnot. So the kids have to understand, so that the associative property of the addition or subtraction, that one number can be, on any quantity, can be broken into two smaller pieces of different combination. The number permanence and the number constancy is very important for them to understand. And comparing the numbers using the rods, greater than, smaller than, again these can be taught through different activities of using rods with concrete objects, then to moving to representational stage. And then the transition has to be very gradual, not that aaj concrete kar liya, kal representation karenge. No, it has to be a gradual process, and the child has to master one stage to the next, before we transition to the next stage. Now, place values, again, different ways of depicting ones, tens, then again three tens and nine ones, 39, writing 30. Oops, let me go back. Yeah, 30 plus 9. Again, the abacus is going to help us. Then,
Anupam,
yeah,
it's wonderful. I just wanted to say that your slides are amazing, and I could go on the whole day, but we'll have to slightly hurry
sure.
up a bit. Yeah.
Okay, so
Uh,
going to the
sure.
concrete again, objects of math operations, we can use a lot of concrete manipulatives, again, beads and blocks, introducing the vocabulary of addition and or subtraction, add, total, plus, increase, and then addition, different strategies. I'm rushing through these. I can share all the slides with you. And number lines. Okay. Subtraction, what it is, take away, minus, counting backwards, and different methods explaining through number line, keywords, difference, how many more, how many are left. Again, let's subtract all these representational stages, multiplication, grouping the objects into times table concepts, grouping, and number line, skip counting. Again, these grids can be used, number all those smaller cubes like these ones, or the tiles like these can be used. Uh, Again, problem solving. Lot of work can be done in the problem solving, explaining how to do the problem solving skills. Like one strategy I use: box the questions and rephrase as a statement, underline the important vocabulary, circle the numbers, knock out the unnecessary information, state the operations, and solve the problems. Bucks. One strategy, but there are hundreds and hundreds of strategies which we can use for
So
problem.
I could go on with this. Please do share the slides on my personal wall also. I
Yeah.
am going to go through this through the day, learn more, and you can receive a lot of calls from me. Anupam, please explain this further to me, right? And so we have Rama back here. I'm sorry for the issues with your slides, but now if you want them, but they can be shared. So
I
please
tried. Now
share.
I will see. I may be able to. Yeah.
Yes. So, but we'll
Yes.
go very fast. I can see a lot of, I mean, this information you've just covered. Yes. That,
Yes.
what
Yes.
was that
Yeah.
circle there that you had? There was a
Yes.
circle
Yeah.
somewhere with,
Yeah. Now
no,
I will
earlier.
go to. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yes. Now I have to. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Please, your question, please.
So my question is, how do we diagnose dyscalculia?
Yes.
And what
Yes.
are the tools? And I hear that you've done a lot of research and you've developed tools for India which need a lot. I mean, your research is immense. Let me inform the audience that the work done by Professor Rama is very unique, and I don't think there are many any other who's done so much of work and research in dyscalculia in India. So we have the next 5 minutes are all yours
Oh,
to
oh.
enlighten us.
Okay, thank you very much. So now that if we take that is the tool I'm concentrating Indian tools here. That one is of course grade level assessment device by Jayanti Narayan. So was there that that is helpful in screening, that we have to administer first before going for diagnosis. We have to use some achievement test that is going to help us in deciding the grade, and the diagnostic tool developed by me as a
Okay,
part of
so
a
before you
research work.
diagnose and come to
Yeah,
a conclusion, you have to do a screen.
yeah,
Probably that this is a problem. So that's what a screening means. That's
yes,
how
that,
I seem to
yeah.
understand. Okay,
Mhm.
okay. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
arithmetic diagnostic test for primary school children, and also that is one more tool being developed by that is Preeti Nair, and she tried on hearing
Again, your
impairment.
voice is
My other students are also doing. So coming to this tool, that you can see that I've identified various the criterion measures. That is starting from number concept up to even that we can say that is the division. So all those things are discussed in this kind of tool. So
wow,
anybody
wow.
interested, they can see
So
later. So
no,
what
no,
is
no. I
more
want to see
important?
it just now. Rama,
Yeah.
ma'am, just go back to that again. That particular
Yeah,
this
yeah, I
slide
will go
number
to
is
that. Yeah, I will tell that this
fine.
is the
This
diagnostic
is okay.
test, and this test is not only helpful in identifying the difficulties among the children, that also helps in identifying the errors committed by them. So now that going to what are the kinds of difficulties faced by children, with first I will tell children that faced by fourth grade children. If we take that means you can see here that I try to identify the masters who have achieved a particular criterion measure. All these kind of classes indicate the children have not attained many of the tasks related to even addition. You can see that is the only one example that I have given here. Like that, it is possible to identify in subtraction, division, etc. And coming to this comparison between that dyscalculia and also children with socially disadvantaged children, you can understand the problem in both of them simultaneously in all the operations. So here that is, as I already told, in addition there are five that major tasks are given. You can see this violet color is for socially disadvantaged children, and also that is the CWD for these children with dyscalculia, those who are having more problems. So you can see in all these cases, children with dyscalculia are having more problems also, like that you can see. And if it that reverse way, if you take that we have achieved the masters also, that you can understand one of them, that criterion measure, that is the problem solving involving spatial, verbal, numerical relations. Both the groups have not done anything. So that similarly you can see in all these cases, the children with dyscalculia are having more problems. So this, by comparing that, you can understand this. And now that you can come to this one, where is the division is there, none of the children from the group of the CWD have achieved anything that is related to that division. Whereas at least children with from socially disadvantaged, they could attain some of the task. That means that it shows the division is the most difficult task. Even you can say here also multiplication, at least some subtraction and addition they can do. But when it comes to multiplication and division, children with dyscalculia are having most difficult. That is because they cannot recall the facts that are related to that, especially multiplication table, etc. And then this is what I tried to tell you. The children coming from, we say, those who are studying in government schools and those who are from those socioeconomic status, they also have difficulty, but their difficulty level is less compared to children with dyscalculia. So that we have to help them in all the operations, whether it is subtraction, addition, division, even in number concepts also, they have a lot of difficulty. But I have not taken here because I just wanted to compare this. So this is one that, especially if a child is from socially disadvantaged and is dyscalculic, you can see that is double disadvantaged. So that as the adverse factors are more, we can see their difficulty will be more and more. And even I tried to compare children with dyscalculia and also educable mentally retarded children on conservation, seriation, etc. I could not show that slides. It is very interesting. At least children with EMR can develop conservation little bit later, number conservation, volume, and also that area, etc. Whereas that the children with the dyscalculia of the same age are lagging more behind that one. So that is sometimes even mild intellectual disability, or children also can learn mathematics, whereas these children with dyscalculia, they face more challenges. So this point that we have to understand, this is the tool, and we can use it for going to the even minute level, at the even item level, what are the errors they can commit. This is one of the tool. I think more details are available later. Yeah,
Wow.
thank you.
So uh, I'm so happy that we were able to get the PPTs on, right? Otherwise, we would have missed out on so much of thing. And this is so
Yeah.
clear that dyscalculia and a child who comes from underprivileged situations may show dyscalculia-like characteristics. And there is also this point that I take back is what is twice E, twice exceptional. So if you are from the underprivileged and if you have dyscalculia, so this is also going to create a lot. And the child is average and above average in intelligence and still not able to function. This is such a wonderful takeaway. And the third takeaway about IQ, intellectually disabled children may be able to do better as compared to the child with dyscalculia, but still average and above average in intelligence. Wow, Rama, you've given such good insight. Anupa,
Hmm.
I was just wanting to ask you, where are you?
Yeah,
What
I'm
is
here.
can dyscalculia and dyslexia, can they occur together?
Of course, the dyslexia and dyscalculia can co-occur. Both these are a part of the specific learning disabilities umbrella term, and dyslexia can co-occur with dyscalculia. But the challenge I have seen in our experience, and Rama ma'am would agree with me on that part, that Dyslexia is a wider
I,
term.
Anupa, you need to be closer to the mic.
Okay. So dyslexia is a wider term and sometimes used interchangeably or synonymously with learning differences as such or learning disabilities. And so earlier, some parents and teachers were confusing the terms like math dyslexia or number dyslexia. They used to call at times that number dyslexia, like anything related to the number challenges can be number dyslexia or math dyslexia. But later on, as the research is growing and research is growing in the field of dyscalculia and learning differences in math, now people are understanding the differences between dyslexia and dyscalculia. But there is a strong overlap that at least half of the children with dyslexia will have dyscalculia also. Theoretically, dyscalculia and dyslexia can coexist independently also. But half of the children with learning differences in reading and writing and spelling will have dyscalculia, and dyscalculia because of the fact that when it goes to the mathematics aspect of the math problem solving, children with learning differences in dyslexia will have challenges in reading the word problems. Even if they know the operations, they will still fail to understand what do I need to do. And the solution is that we give them accommodations and modifications in school, that if somebody can read the questions to them, they can do the operations. Or if we can ask them oral responses. So we have to work hand in hand, solve dyslexia to resolve the dyscalculia piece also. But there is a strong connection between dyslexia as well as dyscalculia.
Okay, so thank you so much. So, although they are separate, but they come under the same umbrella, so I suppose they're mixing up also.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah, right. And many a time we make this mistake, just because it's a maths, it's a problem sum, and we think it's dyscalculia, but actually it is a reading issue.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. And Rama, with all your work in language and different Indian languages, is there a relationship between maths and language reading? One
Yes.
question.
Yeah.
And the next is the dyspraxia question that will come in here. And so
Yes.
please go ahead.
Yes, yes. Okay. So that in fact we already demonstrated the relationship between language and mathematics in that when I showed some of the items, or when Dr. Anupama showed her program. Without that is a language, we cannot teach mathematics. So what is happening? We consider mathematics is also a language
Yes.
dealing with the quantity.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when we talk about the language, most of the time it is the vocabulary. A quantity also may be one of them, but there are so many innumerable, countless other things which will come under language. So when we talk about that is the quantity, quantitative concepts, that pre-math skill that was also already demonstrated, less, more, first, last, center. When we say in the outside, so many things, the spatial or quantitative, that they're all related to. In fact, children in the preschool attain these things, in fact, in an informal way, because of the interaction at home and other things, and they enter the school. But in our study, it has been founded out. Many children with, in fact, we did not separate out dyscalculics and dyslexics, etc. But in general, the children with learning disabilities have difficulty in quantitative concepts and space related concept. So that means if a child is coming to the school with some kind of difficulty in understanding the basic concepts, that will definitely hinder their performance. Numerical things are only one aspect. When we go to word problem, the child has to understand the word problem, and he has to analyze, and he has to take out what is essential and what is non essential data. So under that only that we can say that is a language ability. And similarly, when we go to the theorem, when we say the geometry, the theorem is full of mathematics, and even that the reading, writing, and even that they should remember the spelling. The child who is having difficulty in language cannot learn mathematics. So it is highly difficult. That's why even calculators will help us in doing the basic operations, but they will not help us in doing the higher order mathematics skills. So that means when it comes to application or understanding the word problem, language is a must. And the next, coming to the next question, that is the dyspraxia, is also considered developmental coordination disorder sometimes. Here, mainly that is the fine motor coordination. Unlike in spasticity and other thing, gross motor, anything that involves the fine motor coordination, these children have problem. It may be reading, it may be writing, or it may be drawing, or it may be painting, or anything. So that here we can say these children may have handwriting problem also. These children cannot actually write a number line properly. They cannot do the graph work or that even a construction. Geometry involves full of construction. Naturally, these children will have difficulty, and also sometimes they have eye hand coordination problem. Because of that, they cannot pursue many of the even concrete things. When we show, they have difficulty. So that means dyspraxia is also there about 6 to 7 percentage of the
Hello.
population, and even so that means we can say that they're all related to each other. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. What a amazing, in spite of all the glitches that we had, trying to be multidisciplinary in our presentations, and but we did it. So it was a wonderful session. And now, Rama, what I do understand is that dyscalculia is something that needs to be understood by everyone. And the amazing documentation that has been done by you is really, really marvelous. And we will be sharing all the slides on the YouTube for people to see further. And Anupama, it was so wonderful. So I go back with the next point stage here is, before I go on and on about getting so amazed by the type of work that you people have done, and you've been able to put it across so simply. It is amazing. Thank you so much for clarifying about dyscalculia and dyspraxia. May I request Rita Menon, the chairperson of Lady Urban College, and the and she's also the vice president of IWAFA, uh, to give us the way ahead. Before we do that, may I take this opportunity to formally introduce Rita Menon. Rita Menon, the vice president of IWAFA, is an IS officer of the 1975 batch and has an extensive career in UP and Government of India. She has worked in the field of infrastructure creation, industrial promotion, and development, defense and defense production, health, and finance. She retired as Secretary Textile and went on to become CMD, Indian Trade Promotion Organization. She has contributed not to the ably to the development of industrial township in UP, industrial corridors, financing of industry town planning, modernization of defense shipyards, upgradation and modernization of the textile sector, handbook sector, and promotion of craftsmen. She has been instrumental in drawing up the blueprint for a state of the art convention and exhibition complex at Pragati Maidan, among other center implemented projects. She participates on professional boards of companies and several not for profit organizations. We at IFA are so glad that she is our vice president, and is such a contribution to IWFA. Over to Rita Menon.
Thank you, Professor Malvia. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're very audible, ma'am.
All right. So I think I missed a little bit of the end because I switched from laptop to telephone when that went off. Nevertheless, good afternoon to all of you. Miss Asha Chandra, Professor Renu Malvia.
Uh, you have. Would you like to be closer to your
Yeah,
device?
right. Dr. Ramasubaya, Dr. Anupma Sethi, Dr. Mona Suri. Thank you all for a very elevating discussion. Now, for an absolute layperson like me, I had to actually rack my brains and look up the meanings of dyscalculia, that is, severe difficulty in making arithmetic calculations, and dyspraxia, which to my mind translated in a marked clumsiness in otherwise healthy children in paying attention to detail. I hope I've got that. Uh, in the course of the discussions and the wonderful presentations put up by both our specialists, Dr. Subaya and Dr. Sethi, we learned that both of them have a great background in clinical learning, in international experience, and the evolution of tools and crafts to understand the evolving concept of dyscalculia and the philosophy behind many of the diagnostics that are being used to identify these issues in children. Uh, I've also been able to understand the philosophy of mathematics, which has been linked to neurosciences, and the fact that I have learned it the first time that the fear of maths is actually related to a lot of neurodevelopment and disorder, and that maths is a much wider concept than arithmetic, although it encompasses it. And the children have a special problem in understanding the concepts of algebra,
I We have
trigonometry.
again lost your voice. Lost.
Shall I talk louder?
You are. Yeah, we are. You are audible now. Please be
All
closer to
right.
the device.
Right. So we also understood that there are various comorbidities existing in dyscalculia and are seen in a variety of symptoms. Professor Malvia put in a lot of very interesting questions to both our specialists, and that actually fine tuned the whole, the myriad concepts and responses that we find in our working with special disability children. And it's also given us a deep insight into the deficiencies of way mathematics and concepts are taught, and that brings about anxiety and paralyzes the learning process. Dr. Sethi brought out very cogently how arithmetic and maths are not interchangeable. Maths is the larger overarching subject. Children struggle with the operation of figures in mathematics. Some children may be good in algebra. Some children may have very confused concepts in trigonometry. So, what are the symptoms? The symptoms are difficulties recognizing numbers, patterns and placement in ordering numbers, problems in counting, and a whole variety of the uh, the observances regarding ordering of numbers, ordering of sequences, color identification, etc. When Professor Malvia put the question to Dr. Subaya about how early can we be in identifying children with this difficulty, it was very clear that the entire concept of recognizing these symptoms is at the preschool level, and that the preschool children should be able to demonstrate a variety of skills that both our specialists brought out very eloquently in slides and illustrations about ordering, about placements, place values, which actually made the whole picture very clear. They were also asked about the possibility of early alerts. What are the children at risk? When do we red flag these children? And how do we go about constructing a model to help such children? We understood that children are at risk when warning at the preschool level at the age of 4 comes about in memorizing poems, numbers, months in the year, and anything with a sequence. Pre-math skills and disability can be seen at this stage itself, and it is not only confined to the written word, it also manifests in activities where all brain and sensibilities are involved. We were also told, and this was a very important fact, that the problem can also occur as a result of genetic disorders, both medical as well as psychological. And it was also very clear that slow learning in a genetic sense can be as a result of carelessness during pregnancy, wherein an early identification by both the doctor as well as the teacher are very, very important. When asked about strategies in regular classrooms to identify dyscalculia, we, as the interested panelists and observers, and I'm sure the whole lot of people who have logged in for understanding this subject, were told that, and this is the greatest takeaway, that in keeping with the new education policy, in keeping with the inclusiveness of education, there are now strategies in regular classrooms to identify dyscalculia. To my mind, this is a very important point wherein we need not segregate children with early disability. We see them in the context of the entire classroom as a whole. And for mild level of challenges, we tackle the problem with specific resource strategies, which both our excellent professionals brought. So, in sum, there is a great onus on both teachers and the whole concept of training for teachers, training of trainers, etc., to be able to, in a manner of speaking, bring about the inclusive growth and early warning strategies within the classroom. This actually specifically translates into very concrete and representational and abstract models to identify and bring about a modeling of the problem. Professor Ramaya told us about the three stages to observe and implement the model in small groups with an eye to enable maths readiness skills as well as the other skills that I have briefly touched upon and both our panelists brought about in great detail. These models will help in inculcating sequencing skills and discernible patterns to recognize the outliers, the correspondence with other problems and children, and to and bring about a talent amongst the children to identify like and unlike objects in a fixed time and space, which actually is an integrated model for inculcating all principles which require sequencing, ascending order using a variety of materials, may they be concrete blocks or plastic blocks, and so on. Professor Sethi, Dr. Sethi, brought in the concept of Jodo Gyan, which has been introduced in schools as a very great tool to really go into the issue of children and bringing about an understanding of concepts. The sensorial experience of the objects and placements, the number bonds, have also been brought in very eloquently by both the speakers. One point that I do observe and which is very clear is that mathematics may it be algebra or geometry, or even simple arithmetic, must not be confined to the classroom. Classroom teaching is very important, but the teacher must explain the operations clearly. And simply as a strategy, both our panelists told us that we've got to diagnose dyscalculia by a variety of tools which have been developed by them and professionals. And these tools really are not only for the classroom. It is also incumbent on the mother to explain concepts like double the quantity, double the inches, double the amount of material required, so that the child actually gets the correspondence between school, the interactive methods that are being employed by our teachers, and to also warn the mother that slow level learning can be actually very disastrous, because as we have noticed and our panelists tell us, it brings about a momentary paralysis in the brain, which actually inhibits any further learning. So, the diagnostic tests are very important for analyzing the basic understanding of this disability, and the data associated with these disadvantaged children in the milieu of being amongst normal children in a classroom is really a fundamental key to going about greater tools and procedures to mark the problem. Multiplication, division, and deficiencies associated with addition and subtraction it actually cuts across all levels of children in various societies. Their, their stand is that this problem cuts across government schools and private schools. And even when they compare children across various social and income strata, there is a very big possibility of analyzing what would be the causes and how to tackle the problem both in the school and in the domestic setting. I could not get the last part of the presentation despite my efforts to plug in into various of my devices, and I was finally successful in being able to get the esteemed panelists on the telephone. So I will just reiterate that we got a very fluid and important picture of the importance of maths in our life, why we cannot do without maths, why children cannot do without maths to go into higher learning. We saw the basic concepts manifested in dyscalculia. Is it the same as anxiety and fear of maths? Yes, in a very elementary sense, but in a wider sense, it's connected to our brain, the entire neuroscience framework that we function in. Can arithmetic and mathematics be used interchangeably? No. There are grades and there are children who have to move from grade to grade, and that is why the preschool and up to 8 identification becomes imperative. They talked about the importance of the teacher, parent, and principal nexus, features for an alert signal system, why it must manifest in regular classrooms, especially within the bounds of government policy now on inclusivity, the early bird identification of difficulty, at risk, red flagging, and how to go forward. Any diagnostic tools, we got many, and I, I'm extremely happy to state that even I, as a novice, got a very good idea of what is happening in our classrooms, and more importantly, about what should happen. And I was delighted to see the correspondence between many of the screen shots of Dr. Sethi's presentation, Professor Ramaya's presentation, in the concepts that my little grandchild of 10 brings back home. And I could very much understand how important your work has been, and how imperative is the learning and feeling behind the teachers, and what great work you academics do. I also understood that the strategies in the regular classrooms are most important, and what are the dyspraxia symptoms and how we could get back to a more ordering of a child's brain, less clumsiness. I slightly missed that out, but I am closing by stating that this was a great learning experience. It took off very well from our webinar number one on dyslexia. I want to congratulate Professor Malvia for making this happen and for Ms. Asha Chandra for enabling this series of webinars. And thank you both the panelists for your wonderful presentation and your insights. And we hope to see more of you in the future. Thank you all.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
And a happy Vishu to everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
A happy wish you. Thank you, Rita Menon, for such a holistic way forward. All the terminologies that we've been talking about, continuous comprehensive evaluation and universal design of learning and diversified teaching and the latest policies, the National Education Policy 2020. Rita Menon, you have been able to put it so much at the level of the layperson. Amazing. It was like the Tare Zameen Par. Everything explained which everyone can understand. Thank you so much. May I now request, as we come towards the end of the program, we have with us Dr. Muna Suri, who will be giving us the vote of thanks. May I request Dr. Muna Suri, but before I give my virtual mic to her, may I introduce her to you. Dr. Muna Suri was an associate professor and is the academic vice president at Royal University of Women Higher Education Academy, UK, with a teaching experience of more than 31 years. She completed her studies in fabric and apparel sciences from Delhi University, India. She has been actively involved in teaching and research and has successfully supervised 6 PhDs and 45 master's students for their research. She has many publications, presentations, and awards to her credit. Dr. Mona Suri was teaching at Lady Irwin College, Delhi University, New Delhi for over 20 years. And then she joined the Royal University for Women. And for the last 13 years, she has been contributing to the academic and corporate life of RUW. Before taking up the role of academic president, she was the dean for colleges of arts and design for over 6 years. She has played a key role in creating linkages of the college with international partners, including New Virginia University, industries, visiting professors, and Fulbright scholars. Now she contributes to IWAFA as the executive committee member besides her other engagements. May I hand over the mic to Dr. Mona Suri.
Thank you very much, Professor Malvia, for a lovely introduction. But I
Dr.
think the speakers that we had today, I think the eminent speakers that we have in the area of dyslexia and dyscalculia is something which is amazing. So on behalf of IWAFA, the All India Women's Education Fund Association, I would like to thank all the people who have made it possible for this webinar to be held successfully today. First and foremost, I would like to thank the power of technology. I think to me, technology has been an enabler for all of us because we were able to conduct this national webinar series in a very effective way. And we got the opportunity to listen to these eminent speakers who are located in different parts of India and the world. And I mean, this is something that has been a real good experience for all of us. I would like to thank Professor Rama Subbiah. Thank you so much, ma'am, for explaining the complex concepts of dyscalculia in a very simple terms to all of us, and specifically the research-based means to diagnose dyscalculia and the ways to tackle it. Thank you so much. Thanks are also due to Dr. Anupama Sethi for classifying the challenges which are faced by students at elementary, middle school, and high school level and suggesting the ways to overcome these challenges based on her vast experience in this area. I would like to thank her specifically for the fact that it's almost midnight in the location where she is, and still she's with us and contributing. So, sincere thanks to you as well. I would
My
like to
pleasure.
thank Professor Renu Malviya. Thank you for being an excellent moderator for today's session and to steer this seminar, today's webinar in an effective way and raising very pertinent questions. And most importantly, to manage time, because keeping time in such webinars is a real important task, because we have people with huge experiences and we want to make sure that we get maximum out of them. So thank you so much. Thanks are also due to Ms. Asha Chandra, our president of IWAFA. Thank you so much for delivering the welcome note today, and also for your constant guidance and support in organizing not only the national webinar series, but all other activities that we have been doing for IWAFA. Ms. Neeta Menon, thank you so much, being the chairman of the governing body of Lady Irwin College and the vice president of IWAFA. Thank you for summarizing today's proceedings in a very crisp fashion, and also to suggest a way forward by defining specific action items that can be taken up in future as well. I would also like to thank the IWAFA Executive Committee for their advisory roles in most of our activities that have been happening, and specifically to Ms. Asha Ahuja for rendering the administrative support in organizing these activities effectively. I will be failing in my duties if I don't thank Lady Irwin College for their unconditional support and assistance in all IWAFA activities, and specifically this national webinar series. The Department of Education at Lady Irwin College for being our knowledge partners, and the student interns for their efficient and ready assistance in managing the modalities of the seminar today. I would also like to thank Voice for Ability, the social media partners for IWAFA for this webinar, for effectively organizing the series of these webinars and contributing in a very effective way to enable us do all these things very, very efficiently. I would like to thank Ms. Shubh Lata Jain for graciously sponsoring today's event, not today's, like the entire series of the National Webinar event. Special thanks are also due to Dr. Manisha Chaudhary for connecting us to the sponsors, and to Mr. Arman Ali for his guidance throughout this journey. Last but not the least, I would like to thank the audience who have joined us from various platforms of YouTube and through IWAFA and through other channels for their active participation. And some of these questions that Professor Renu has been, bringing us uh, were probably based on what the feedback we were getting from the audiences at different levels. So thank you all for making today's webinar a success, and we look forward to our next webinar tomorrow and more in the series to come. So thank you one and all for all of you who have made it possible today. Thank you so much.
Uh, So thank you, everyone. A few announcements for the next one. Please go to the chat box for those of you who would like to have a certificate and fill in the Google form there. The e-certificates will be provided. And do join us tomorrow at 11:30 again for the next series, in the next webinar of the National Webinar Series. The title for tomorrow's webinar is Dysgraphia and Dyslexia, Wish Humans Had Not Created Reading and Writing. So meet you tomorrow on the same platform at 11:30. Goodbye. Have a lovely day.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh,
Bye bye.
thank you. Bye bye.